So a lot of what we're doing is trying to figure out whether evolution is actually useful for medicine and public health. Do you think it makes a difference to have a doctor or a medical researcher who understands evolutionary biology?
So I think that one of the really useful things for medical professionals to understand is that there's a lot of natural variation in populations. You know, a lot of the, I suppose I'm speaking from personal, what I get from doctors is, you know, this is what's normal and this is what's abnormal.
Essentialized, everything's the same, right?
That's right. And that's easier for us to keep track of in our heads. But the fact is we vary in all kinds of ways. Variation is the rule, not the exception to the rule. And I think evolutionary thinking can really help us wrap our minds around that.
Right. And even the very idea, I mean, it's a core evolutionary idea. Everybody acts like every member of a species is the same, but there wouldn't be an evolution if they were all the same. The whole point of how natural selection works is variation.
Yeah.
Variation. And
all evolution depends on variation to happen. Actually, even evolution that has nothing to do with natural selection depends on variation. So, yeah, it's
evolution that has nothing to do with natural selection. Say a bit more about that.
Yeah. So, as someone trained as a geneticist, I think about evolution as changes in the types of forms of DNA we see.
Just mean changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Not why it's changing.
May not be directional, can be directional, and sometimes that's really interesting. In many ways that different populations look different from one another, that may actually just be a product of chance evolutionary events, which is also quite interesting.
So I'm going to come back full circle to what we started with, and early adversity causing problems that cause some individuals to die 10 years younger than others.
Yeah.
You would think that natural selection would get rid of genetic variations that would leave people in those bad circumstances, or people or baboons.
Right.
And it seems like there's still a lot of variation there that natural selection could have fixed, but apparently it didn't fix it. What do you think is going on there?
I think that, one, natural selection is never going to have the power to fix whether or not a baboon is born in a drought. So there are just controls on the environment, and, you know, cases where a baby is born in a really rough year that, you know, can't be touched by the processes that we're talking about. But two, natural selection is also not all powerful. And it works, as you know, we were just talking about variation. It works with the variation that exists in the population. And it also works on what we would call like the whole phenotype. Everything about all the traits of an organism together. And so while it may be really great in a particular situation to have a killer pro-inflammatory response, there are also, as we've also talked about, trade-offs.
It's all trade-offs all the way down, isn't it?
Right. I think that there probably are interesting selective processes, natural selection related processes going on those baby baboons who are being born in really rough environments. But where I think that, you know, my research is more likely to go is not to say, well, why didn't this get fixed? But okay, so now that you are in an adverse environment and you're going to adjust something about your development or about your physiology, what are you going to choose to adjust? You know, given the constraints that you have.
So natural selection has shaped those systems that plastically adjust things to an environment, even though it can't make it perfect.
I think that's probably true. We'll need to do some rigorous tests.
More work on that is needed.
More work on that is needed, but I think that's the way that I tend to think about it.
So thanks to Jenny Tung for a very interesting conversation. If you'd like to see her entire lecture given earlier today about the details of this work, that's on our YouTube channel at the evmed.asu.edu site. Thanks so much, Jenny.
Thank you.